KZN, once again in the spotlight. We saw yesterday reports of the R34 John Ross Highway between Richards Bay and Mpangeni reportedly blocked. We saw similar moves afoot in Mpumalanga. Should we be concerned?
Morning, Bongani. Yes, I think we should. There's no doubt that there's an orchestrated effort to repeat what happened last year. Of course, it's again a culmination of challenges that we face. The fact that South African consumers feel hugely under stress, high levels of unemployment, inequality, and so on and so forth. Those structural drivers we all know about. And then the major driver of all of this is the increasingly violent factional competition within the ANC and the threat from the law enforcement agencies that some members of the that were fingered in the Zondo Commission are under threat. And that violent competition within the ANC then gives the opportunity for an incident that happened last year with the attempted eventually arrest of former President to go to jail. So these events all culminate. But there's no doubt that this is, to a degree, at least organized and incited. And of course, the security agencies, from what one can see, are trying to respond to this. I think had it not been for the response, I think the situation would have been a little bit even worse than what we've seen at the moment.
Here's the difficulty. Begekele told us about the dirty dozen, the instigators. You talk about coordination. Why is it that we don't know their names? We don't know what they look like. We don't know who they were. We don't know what role they played. And we don't know if they might do it again.
Well, it's quite obvious that some of them are doing it again. But naming people and prosecuting them, holding them to account by arresting them and proving their guilt in a court of law are two very different things. And I think right from the beginning, when the Minister of Police made that list, it was a list of people, it seems like, that he had gotten from the Twitter sphere, and it doesn't really seem that they had real hard evidence. I mean, the Sandy Africa report on intelligence laid bare the complete lack of coordination within the intelligence system. The fact that one part of the intelligence system says we provided you with reports, and the other side, largely the police, said no, we didn't get anything. And then the report indicated the lack of coordination at the most senior level. That, of course, is the reason why the president appointed the Commission of Inquiry. It came with recommendations. We don't exactly know what has been implemented, because part of the problem within this entire security establishment, particularly within state security, is that everything is a secret. And this is a huge challenge that we face.
Look, let's not even talk about complicated plans, right? We have seen repeated blockades, let's say on the N3, especially at Van Rienen's Pass. I mean, is it a failure of intelligence that we don't anticipate these things, or is it that we have a lack of capacity to respond?
It's both of those things. It's very clear that we don't have intelligence. I think you only have to read those various reports, even the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, to see that what goes as the intelligence community in South Africa doesn't really need that name. So we have all kinds of people peddling information. Much of the analysis that comes seems to be coming from the private sector and from former police and so on and so forth. Then on the other hand, the capacity issue, the only component of the reaction that has steadily year after year seen its budget increase is that of the VIP protection. And that, of course, is a reactive system that protects the politicians and others. It doesn't really lead to the kind of capacity that we need to be able to respond. But it does seem, when all is said and done, that there have been certain preparations and efforts by the police and others. If one sees the way that they are reacting, it may not be enough. We may want more. But I do think that there has been some lessons have certainly been learned. But remember, this is the year of the run-up to the ANC's elective conference. This is a fight to the death, literally, between two factions of the ANC. People are going to be elected that are going to govern South Africa, going forward. So this is a very important year. And beginning of the year, we commissioned a report that indicated once again the extent to which factional violence within the ANC is driving violence in South Africa.
But surely if you're the incumbent in such an election year, you must demonstrate some kind of strength. I'll give you another example. The recent wildcat strike at Eskom. No one was fired, no one was charged. Instead, following intimidation, petrol bombs, truck blockades, general criminality, the workers were rewarded with R1 billion wage deal Eskom doesn't have. And now, in fact, we're expected to praise the speed with which this deal was struck. Nothing from the president. Absolutely nothing.
Now, I think we all are concerned about that. But what we've done in South Africa is we've created a system with regard, for example, our labor legislative system and the way in which it is regulated, our constitution, our Bill of Rights, and all the things that we are very proud of, which means that due process needs to be followed. And you and I, as ordinary consumers, are hugely upset by the extent to which labor can hold government to ransom. But this is a legacy that comes from Curry's Fountain from 1974 onwards. The fact that labor has managed to negotiate a position of power and strength within the South African dispensation, which means that strikes are, even if they are illegal, they are not criminal. So we are, in a sense, caught in between a rock and a hard place in the way in which we have built a constitutional edifice, which means that anybody could take you to court, can hold you to account legally if you act in any way that infringes upon his or her rights. So it's a very, very difficult situation for government to act in a way that you and I would feel makes a practical difference to a situation on the ground.
702.
More than a radio station.
Let's walk the talk.